spice it up. You can do even and odd groups. You can do all primary numbers versus, you can do it in any different way. You can do all 2 and 4s in this group and 1 and 2, 1 and 3 in that group. And you can switch it up various different ways. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So you'd have teams of 4. Okay, so you could say, I want you guys to form groups of 4 with a number 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 in it. So the kids have to rotate, find someone with the 4 card numbers, get in a group, give them a question they all have to discuss. Then you can say groups of 4 with all number 2s, or all like numbers. So all 2s get together, all 3s, all 4s, all 1s. So you can vary it so that they're talking to different kids on a consistent basis, okay? And in small groups so that every child has the opportunity to speak. Oral language production is one of the major pieces of language development and language acquisition, okay? All right. Another engagement strategy for your students, okay? So a lot of times, especially journal writing, how many of your kids are always saying, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write? How many? Yeah, all of them? Yeah, pretty much. It's because we haven't prompted them. We haven't given them the language skills, the language prompts to be able to start to do that. And so sentence starters is a great strategy to use. So you know that we have been expecting you to require students to speak in complete language, in complete sentences. This is a way to teach that. So when you speak to your partner, your elbow buddy, about what you like to do when you're not working, we need you to use the sentence starter and complete the sentence so that you have formulated a complete sentence. Are there questions around that? Why do you think that's important? What's something that we're teaching them when we do that? How to start a sentence?
Sentence structure.
Yes.
How to say a complete sentence or even form one?
How to say a complete sentence, formulate a complete thought, right? Because a lot of times they speak in segments because they don't have the vocabulary to describe. So this is a strategy we're using to make that happen, okay? All right, so with that, I need you guys, you're going to get 1 minute to share with your elbow party why when I'm not working, I enjoy playing. Go. Language production, generating or using spoken or written language. What's the key word there? Generating. They have to generate it. They have to produce it. How many of you have studied a second language? Okay. And they're like, oh, I can totally understand what they're saying, but I can't speak it. How many of you do that? Okay, why is that? What did you not do? You didn't generate. Your teacher didn't require that. When I took French, I took it for 3 years. Our teacher, from day 1, never spoke English. And we were required to respond in French for every single thing. We didn't know about what activities actually support language production. Okay? So there are going to be a list of activities. What are you going to do? Identify those that require language production. Okay? Alright. So obviously you won't be able to circle them, but once you're done chatting, we're going to review them together. Okay? So here's a list of activities. Watching a video, writing a paragraph, doing math computation on a computer, creating and reciting a rap, reading a poem, acting out a scene from a play, writing sentences with spelling words, reading a chapter in a book, telling about what happened over the weekend, singing karaoke, filming and narrating a video, and dancing. So talk to your partner and identify which are language production activities. How about writing a paragraph? Yep, you're producing language, right? Doing math computation, one by one, no, there is. Doing math computation on a computer is not going to be language production, right? Creating and reciting a rap. How many of you felt that was language production? It absolutely is, right? Reading a poem. Are you initiating the creation of the poem, or are you just reading it? You're just reading it, so it's not going to be that. You are not creating the language. That's the difference between language production. Acting out a scene from a play. Yeah, it is. Writing sentences with your spelling words. As boring as that may be. It is language production. Reading a chapter in a book. It's not part of producing language, but we'll talk about how it still does support language acquisition. Okay, there's a difference. Telling about what happened over the weekend. Definitely, right? Singing karaoke. Yes, you are being asked to generate vocally. Okay? Filming and narrating a video. Which part of that is language production? Narrating. Narrating, not the filming part, right? And then obviously dancing is not going to be language production. Okay? All right, so, yes, sir.
I'm kind of curious why singing karaoke is one and not reading a book. I would think a poem is kind of interesting. Alright, ready? When teaching English learners, we can enhance instruction by providing opportunities for language production.
When the kids explain to classmates about writing production, they may be mad, but they are involved in language production. When our students practice making a polite introduction, even social language becomes part of language production.
If they put on paper stories of an alien abduction, student writers then participate in language production.
And in my experience instruction, our students can perfect their language production.
When teaching English learners, we can enhance instruction by providing opportunities for language production. When the
We can enhance instruction by providing opportunities for language production.
When the kids explain to classmates about fraction, reduction, and maybe math, but they're wrong in language production. When our students practice making, apply, instruction, even social language becomes part of language production.
If they put on paper stories of naming, abduction, student writers then participate in language production.
In a rapper of the Maya and a pyramid construction, our students perfect language production.
And my son just had to do it. He's a junior, and they were looking at poetry, and the teacher took a rap song and had it broken down, and the kids didn't realize what it was, and then one of them caught on to the words a little bit later, and they're like, wait a minute. And it was a rap. It was a rap song, and so the kids were really tuned into that, and then they had to produce their own rap song, but it followed a sonic pattern, right? So they learned about poetry and incorporated it into rap, which to kids was now more meaningful. The minute you say, we're going to learn about Elizabeth Barrett Browning, what are they going to say? Who's that? No, right? So how do we turn that into something that kids are excited about, right? So at the end of the day, these kids worked in teams of 4, and they had to create a rap song using a poetry style, okay? So those are great ways to get kids engaged in their learning, make it meaningful, because to them, that's relevant, right? That's something that they enjoy doing. So why not tie it into something that's fun for them, okay? All right. So. This is another strategy that you can take out. This is a really great strategy for debriefing. It could be a strategy around checking for understanding. It could be collaborative in terms of moving two purposes for the SELLAPS test. The first is for identification, which we just talked about, to identify whether or not they are an English language learner, right? The second is through an annual assessment. Okay, so every year, by October 31st, all English language learners are required to be retested. Based on that test, the score on their test, and some other factors which we'll look into, it will be deemed whether the child remains an English language learner or whether they are reclassified as an English proficient student. Okay? All right. I'm going to kind of go through these, but I want you to classification status. So there are 4 language categories. We've talked about quite a few of them. Well, all of them already. What do you guys think the L stands for? Listening. And the S?
Speaking.
The R?
Reading.
And the W?
Writing.
Very good. Those are the 4 categories that students are tested in during the SELF. They're called domains. Okay? They're tested in categories, in grade clusters. Okay? So K2s receive 1 test, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9, 12s receive a different test. So there are 4 different tests. Okay? There's not one for kinder, a different one for first, a different one for second. They all take the same one. So we hope that by the time they get to 2nd grade, right, that they can actually do well and pass that assessment. Okay? Okay, so this is how the scores are determined. So depending on how they perform, they are identified as either a level 1, which is a beginner, a level 2, which is early intermediate, a level 3, which is intermediate, level 4 is early advanced, and 5 is advanced. In order to be reclassified, they must perform at the 4 or 5, but they may not be below a 3 in any given category, in any given domain. Okay? They also look at grades and things like that. Okay, that we'll talk about. Okay, so when you hear, oh, my English learner, he's a 3, what does that mean? He's intermediate, so we still have to bump him, right? You have to bump him to that early advanced or advanced category to get them to be reclassified. The entire time they are categorized and classified as an English language learner, they are by law required to receive English language development classes, intervention, okay, to help them move. Does it work? No. I hope not. Because then you might not have a lot of buddies. So, we got to understand the difference. Okay, and we're going to begin to dissect that a little bit deeper here. So, EL's in your program. We're not going to obviously talk their table groups, but we need to identify and know who they are. We need to know who our English learners are, and we need to know what level they are. Because depending on what level they are, is the capacity that they have and where we need to start providing instruction for them, okay, and support systems. Remember, our 1s are usually our 1-word answer. So if they scored a 1, they're level 1 EL, they're probably your 1-worders, right, that don't know very much. The little guy that did the little nonsense words, he's a 1. So we're going to start by teaching him how to say, may I go to the restroom? You know, may I have a pencil? Thank you. Please. You're welcome. Those are all things we're going to start working with them on. Okay? Not only knowing who they are, but as I mentioned, knowing their proficiency levels, their overall self-level. You'll also want to know, in addition to the overall level, they may be a 4, but they're a 2 in writing, right? We need to know that. So we need to know their proficiency level across the 4 domains, which are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Okay? And know why it is important to know a student's self-information. Okay? juniors and seniors still considered EL. It means they have still not been able to reclassify. Hopefully they have not been EL since kinder, because then that means there are a lot of teachers that haven't done their job, right? Hopefully it's because they've been here a shorter amount of time, you know, different things like that, but that's not always the case. Each case is very different, so we need to be very conscious of that, and we need to have very concerted efforts to help build the language proficiency of all our students. And remember, in the after-school setting, there's more opportunity to do that than in the school day, because there's a lot more time to discuss, to collaborate, to be creative, and that's what we want to encourage. Okay, level 3 or higher. So if they are a 4 or 5, but any one domain has a 1 or a 2, they cannot be reclassified. So that's why it's important to identify which level, right, that they are designated in each of the 4 domains, so that if writing is the issue, we can make a very concerted effort in our classes, in our groups, and after school to really support that learning. Their CSPs, which obviously is changing, had to be a basic score or above. Their teacher evaluation, grades, grade point average, and benchmark testings were also considered. Parent guardian opinion and consultation.
Options for you, whether so. Okay, the purpose of whiteboards is to have students individually given whiteboards to write down answers to discussion questions, so that everyone in the program or in your school, you know, because if you're having all your students participating, everyone is expressing what they think the answer is or the debrief feeling is towards whatever question or concern that you were discussing. So it allows every student to participate in answering a question at the same time, and it holds students accountable to learning the material and assuring that the students can participate. The benefits of this, it's beneficial for reviewing the subject matter, and it provides opportunities to practice, rehearse, and discuss the content material. So what we're going to do is we're going to use whiteboards as an activity to discuss what Adriana just described for you. So if everyone can turn their page over to a blank white piece of paper. Once you're done, put it in here so you know that everyone's ready. Okay.
From one activity to the next. Just think about what their language sounds like. What do they talk about? It's always kind of cool to listen in on little kid conversations. And then I want you to think about, remember we're not going to share right now. I want you to think about internally what you hear them talking about in the classroom. How does that language sound different? Okay? Make note of that. Does somebody want to raise their hand and tell us something that they might hear kids talking about on the playground? Yes. What they might have for math homework? What else? Yes, in the very back.
Can you help me with this or that, trying to help each other with their
Okay,
homework?
so peer tutoring, peer support. Okay, that's great. Those are obviously things that we want to hear. So I want you guys to think about this as the tip of an iceberg. The very top of the iceberg is the basic interpersonal communication skills. These are going to be the language skills that kids have on the playground. You're going to acquire them in less than 2 years, right? And some examples of phrases will be, "That's cool," "It's my turn," "He's been on the swing too long," right? "It's my turn to be at the drinking fountain," "I'm the line leader," right? "What did you do yesterday?" Those are all going to be common quotes you're going to hear kids on the playground. Those are their basic interpersonal communication skills, okay? That's your basics. Those are your foundations. That's, you know, when you learn a second language, you learn how to order food, how to introduce yourself. You know, those are the basics that you need in order to survive, right? Okay. The next part is your cognitive academic language proficiency, your CALPS. Okay? Cognitive means what? Your thinking, your mind, right? Academic language proficiency. here to here. And you do that through constant communication and asking them higher level, higher critical thinking skill type questions. That's when debriefs are more scaffolded, and they should be getting more difficult as you progress through the debrief. Some of the things you might, well, the CALS requires 5 to 7 years because the language is more cognitively demanding. That's like when you're reading that physics book, sometimes you need to reread the same paragraph a few times because it's not making sense, right? It's a different language to you, okay? It takes a longer time to acquire. Some examples that kids will be able to understand are compare and contrast the protagonist to the villain. Very different language from what's different and what's the same between the bad guy and the good guy, right? Like, language is very different. Until they can understand this level of language, they have not acquired those cognitive skills yet for academic language proficiency. You might hear the radius is half the diameter. Sequence the following numbers instead of put the numbers in order. So that's why our academic language is crucial. It's not just knowing the word, but knowing how to use it in context and understanding what it means. That's the difference. So kids who are still classified as English learners are still in the basic pieces of it. Okay? We need to move them to the cognitive academic language proficiency level. Are there questions on that?
Complex social language is the language used in social settings that includes grammatical structures, complex grammatical structures, and specialized vocabulary. So this language is completely different than lunchtime language. Or when they go home, even when you go home and discuss stuff with your family, we're not utilizing words all the time that speak to a doctorate degree or speak to education all the time, right? Because we're relaxed, we're at home, it doesn't really, we don't focus on that piece as much. So what we have to do is teach our students to get to this level, to get to the level of social, complex social language. So part of the conversation behind that is we're going to focus on the vocabulary word, the complex language.
Their version of the definition as we go through. The first one is engagement. Who would like to give us their twist on what engagement means? Yes, Linda.
Everyone being involved.
Everyone being involved. Very good. Actively involved. Good job, Linda. Thank you. Language production. Who would like to give us a definition of what language production means? What do you call it? She hasn't had an opportunity. Okay, good. So it's anything to produce language, reading and speaking, right? Okay, good. Complex social language. Go ahead, Adam. Okay, so the utilization of professional language versus your day-to-day, what you hang out with your buddies and talk about, right? Okay, diversity. Yes, ma'am.
Creating inclusion and an environment and understanding.
Exactly. Creating an environment that's inclusive of everybody's backgrounds, cultures, and embracing that, right? And understanding what good is brought to the group because of it. And finally, culture. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Okay, so shared thinking and practices and traditions amongst a group of people. Okay, very good. Now, what I want you guys to look at is on the very next page, there's a practice. Oh, no, there's not. Okay, so I want you guys to identify on this page, I want you guys to think about what you will consider doing when you guys go back to program next week. From what you've learned in this session, I want you guys to identify 2 to 3 things that you commit to doing when you go back to program on